So this is so dope because I have so many questions. But the first thing that sticks out to my mind is just how blessed me and my wife are, because you said you were retired formally from this practice. The same thing went along with our doctor, Dr. Johnson. She technically does not deliver babies anymore.
I heard.
But she delivered both of ours by the grace of God. You know what I'm saying? We've been blessed to have beautiful people in their spaces of, doing things that is purposeful to them that will allow us to have a good connection and relationship for them to be able to, unretire,
unretire,
so to speak. Listen, talk to me a little bit about your process of when you knew that, okay, this work feels right to me. If there's something deeper here, but I'm sure that there was also the process of, okay, but I'm maybe unsure, maybe I'm doing something different, so I have to unlearn, like you said, the socialization that what you had learned prior to. So just talk to me a little bit about your process of knowing something felt viscerally right to you, but externally it was whatever kind of going on.
So this is another beautiful question. I was a social worker by trade.
Hey, me too. Yeah, shout out social. Yes. I'm retired from the social work field.
Yes, so I was, and you get it, right?
100%.
And so I was doing that work for almost 13 years.
And what sorry for cutting you off. And what space did you practice in?
So I worked primarily with children and families, and when I left the field, I was working specifically with a group of young girls, young Black girls who had experienced trauma, abuse, neglect, and I received grant funding and started connecting them to the practice of yoga. And so that's how I met my now business partners.
Okay.
9 years ago. And then I left my job, which I tell people all the time, like, I had a certain level of privilege and access, right, to be able to just say, like, I think I don't want to do this anymore. I want to shift to something else. But that was hard.
Absolutely.
Hard. Because even though it was chaotic in some ways and I was really unhealthy in some ways, it was my normal.
Absolutely.
So I was just used to it, right? Yeah. And so much of my worth and my value was caught up in I give. And I would come home and feel just completely depleted, right? And it got to the point where I would go to work in the mornings and I would just sit in the car and cry. And it wasn't because I didn't like what I did, it was because I didn't like the process that I was being required to do it within. And so I tell people all the time that ultimately, like, in this life, my goal, my intention in this life is to support people to uncover the origin of freedom and what that means for them, and to be a source to guide them back to themselves. Because we all have our own internal resource.
That's right.
And we just need to be reminded of it, right? Like, you and Sierra have everything you needed to bring Sade in the world. I was just there to remind you all, like, realistically, I was kind of just standing to the side,
No, I'm not letting you give yourself that. I paid attention to what you was doing even before Sade got here. I'm talking about small things as far as just like, introducing yourself. Make sure that you spoke to the people when we came in the door, introducing yourself to the hospital workers. It was small things that you did to kind of like advocate for Sierra without it even coming across as you were advocating. Yeah. And that right there is deeper than a skill set.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? That is part of
in the bones.
Yeah. That goes into it. You spoke about a privilege that you had. What was the privilege that allowed you to be able to step away? What was it?
I had a husband who was gainfully employed. It could carry our health
Shout
insurance,
out to him.
right?
Yeah.
And also supported me in that. I can remember sitting down with him and telling him, I think I'm ready to make this leap. And he's like, okay, well, put your notice in. And I was like, well, hold on. Yeah. That was fast. I didn't expect it to be this fast. But even in my journey in birth work, because it takes a lot, right? You jump up at 10 p.m., you think you may have gone to bed for the night, and then you're up. But he has held me down, just to no extent. No question, knowing like you're doing this because this is your calling and part of, who you are and a part of honoring your people.
Man, I know that this is one of those moments that's like you get goosebumps because you can feel that the divine order is really a real thing, because that is very much aligned with some of my experience as well. Prior to being a full-time entrepreneur, I was a social worker working primarily in elementary and middle schools with students and their families. Right in 2020, obviously the pandemic struck. My mother transitioned in 2020, but we also had Messiah. So we had our first son in February, and then 4 months later to the day, my mother passed away.
That's right.
But also, in the midst of that, we're dealing with the global pandemic. So there's literally, I spoke about this here before, is that it was so much chaos going on. There was literally a roller coaster of emotions. Yeah. Here I am experiencing like this purest form of joy with our son, our first child being born, and then literally 2 weeks later, the world shuts down, right? So it's a little bit of like uncertainty, but I was still good. I was still working at the time, and my job at the time showed out to be recession-proof and pandemic-proof because we were still able to provide services when, unfortunately, a lot of people were not. You know, a lot of people, you know, lost their jobs during that time. So there was still, you know, some, even though we're leaning into some uncertainty, there was still a level of security that I was experiencing. And then when my mother passed away in June on her 61st birthday, she would have been 63 this upcoming June, in a few weeks on June 29th. When she passed away, literally my life changed, literally in that moment. The better ultimately. And dealing with those three experiences specifically, I'm talking about these are all life-changing experiences all at once, right? And there was stuff leading up to it that I knew that, okay, my time here at the job is going to be short-lived. You know what I'm saying? I know I can feel it. You know what I'm saying? It was literally just, I would always tell people, I feel like God is just telling me, hey, John, when you're ready, I got you. Just jump, you know. And luckily for me, I was in a space of privilege to where my wife supported that. You know, she supported that transition for me to jump out and chase my dreams, so to speak. But also to listen, we have enough, you know, financial backing that we okay. We got insurance covered on this end. But she, you know, she supported it in a way where it didn't happen through force. It's not like she was on my back. It's not like she was like, all right, you can do it, but we need to be like, in 6 months, this needs to happen else. It was none of that. It was, okay, if that's what you feel led to do and you know, you feel it, you know, genuinely, you feel like it's the right thing to do, let's do it, and, you know, we'll make it work, you know what I'm saying, so to speak. So that's beautiful that you say that, and that's not a coincidence.
Yes, shout out to supportive partners.
Absolutely.
Supportive communities, all of it.
Yeah, for sure.